Most carry guns feel reliable at first. Clean ammo, clean hands, nice weather. A few magazines at the range, that part is easy. What's harder is surviving years of daily carry, sweat inside the holster, pocket lint in the action, cheap training ammo, long classes, thousands of draw strokes. Neglect people rarely admit online. That's where reputations change. Because eventually every carry gun stops being a purchase and starts becoming a trust exercise. Some pistols lose that trust fast, others just keep surviving. And over time, something strange happens. People stop arguing about them, they stop chasing upgrades, stop defending their choice in comment sections, stop trying to prove anything, they just keep carrying the gun. This list is about those pistols, the ones instructors kept seeing, the ones cops quietly held onto after retirement, the ones serious concealed carriers trusted long after the honeymoon phase disappeared, not because they were perfect, because they earned it. Some carry guns become famous because they're new, others become trusted because they survived long enough for people to stop feeling the need to explain them. And honestly, those are usually the ones worth paying attention to, because reliability changes, meaning once a pistol becomes part of daily life, not range life, real life, the kind where a gun rides in the waistband through long workdays, sits inside hot vehicles, gets dropped into range bags, shot dirty, carried tired. That's when weaknesses start showing up. A bad recoil impulse becomes harder to ignore. A weak magazine spring suddenly matters. Tiny reliability issues stop feeling minor, especially when the gun is supposed to protect your life. Now, obviously, people are going to disagree with parts of this list. Some shooters trust striker-fired simplicity above everything. Others still prefer hammer guns with police and military pedigrees. And there are old-school revolver guys who think the entire micro-compact era is one giant compromise. Fair enough. But the pistols on this list all share one thing. They earned reputations that survived beyond internet hype. These are the carry guns people kept trusting after high-round counts, after years of ownership, after newer guns arrived promising to replace them. Some are boring, some are heavy, a few are honestly outdated in certain ways. Doesn't matter, serious people still carry them, and we're starting with a revolver that accepted its compromises from day one. The Ruger LCR never tried to be glamorous. Number 7. The Ruger LCR. This gun tells you a lot about how serious people think about concealed carry, because nothing about the LCR feels designed for showing off. It's small, lightweight, a little awkward looking, and honestly not particularly enjoyable to shoot for long sessions. That was never the point. The LCR was built around a much simpler idea: make a revolver people will actually carry, not admire, not endlessly customize, carry. And Ruger understood something early that a lot of companies still struggle with. Comfort matters, because the most reliable handgun in the world means nothing if it stays home in a safe. The LCR disappears easily. Pocket holster, jacket pocket, appendix carry, ankle rig. It's one of those guns you almost forget is there until your hand wraps around the grip. Mechanically, it earned trust fast. The trigger became a huge part of that reputation. Smooth, consistent, surprisingly controlled for a lightweight revolver, not perfect, still a snub-nosed trigger, still takes discipline to shoot well. But compared to older lightweight revolvers that felt stiff and punishing, the LCR felt deliberate, refined even. Now here's the trade-off. The gun is light enough that recoil gets unpleasant quickly, especially in .357 Magnum. A lot of owners eventually settle into 38+ P loads because they realize something important. A carry gun doesn't need to impress your friends at the range. It needs to stay controllable when your hands are tired and your heart rate spikes. That matters. And despite the polymer frame making traditional revolver shooters skeptical at first, the LCR built a reputation for holding up to hard carry surprisingly well. Sweat, lint, daily abuse, neglect. It just kept functioning. Not because it was romantic, because Ruger built it like a working tool, and over time the LCR became one of those guns people quietly recommended after they got older, after the novelty phase. after they realized comfort and consistency matter more than internet arguments about capacity. The LCR never tried to become iconic. The next revolver already was. Number 6. The Smith & Wesson J-Frame. This is one of those carry guns that survived multiple generations of trends, and honestly, that alone says something. Because the J-Frame has been around long enough to watch entire categories rise and disappear. Different calibers, different carry fads, different miracle pistols people swore would replace it forever. The little revolver just stayed. Quietly. That's the strange thing about J-frames. People complain about them constantly. The recoil is sharp, capacity is limited, the sights are small, reloads are slow, and training with lightweight snubs can feel downright punishing. None of that is wrong, but older shooters keep carrying them anyway. Retired detectives, off-duty cops, experienced concealed carriers who already tried everything else. There's usually a reason for that. The J-frame built trust in ugly conditions, close-range fights, pocket carry, deep concealment, bad angles, contact distance scenarios where semi-autos can get pushed out of battery. A good revolver doesn't care much about any of that. You pull the trigger and it keeps cycling. Over decades, that mechanical certainty became part of the mythology. Not because revolvers are flawless, they aren't. When revolvers fail, failures can be serious, and modern micro-compacts absolutely outperform them in capacity and reload speed. But the J-frame was never trying to win a spec sheet war. It was trying to remain dependable inside a pocket for 20 years. That's a very different mission, and honestly, a lot of serious concealed carriers still trust that mission, especially people who prioritize simplicity under stress. No magazine questions, no slide manipulation, no wondering whether weak-handed shooting will induce a malfunction. Just a heavy trigger and deliberate mechanics. 5 shots, that's it. And strangely enough, that simplicity creates calm for some people. You see it all the time with experienced carriers. The longer they carry, the less interested they seem in impressing anybody. That's where the J-frame lives now, not as the coolest carry gun, as the revolver people keep returning to after the experimentation phase ends. The J-frame survived through simplicity. The next pistol earned trust through relentless hard use. Number 5. The Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 Compact. This gun has a very different personality from the revolvers we just covered. Less nostalgia, less mythology, more quiet professionalism. The M&P 2.0 Compact feels like the kind of pistol that spent more time inside duty holsters than YouTube thumbnails, and that reputation matters. Because while the internet spent years obsessing over the Glock 19, the M&P quietly built trust with police departments, instructors, and shooters who put serious round counts on their guns. Not glamorous round counts, real ones. Training classes, qualification days, long weekends burning through cases of 9mm, and the gun developed a reputation for absorbing abuse without much drama. That became the identity of the platform. Dependable, workmanlike, deliberate. A lot of shooters describe the M&P as Glock reliability with better ergonomics. Not everyone agrees with that. But there's a reason the comparison keeps happening. Once Smith & Wesson refined the earlier generation issues, the 2.0 series matured into a genuinely trusted hard-use pistol. The grip texture helped, aggressive without feeling excessive. The recoil impulse feels planted too, less snappy than some compact guns, more composed during fast strings. And the trigger finally became something serious shooters stopped apologizing for. That mattered, because older M&Ps sometimes carried this strange reputation where owners loved the gun, but immediately started talking about aftermarket trigger upgrades. The 2.0 changed that conversation, not completely, but enough. Now here's where the pistol gets interesting emotionally. The M&P rarely becomes someone's personality. You almost never hear people romanticize it. And honestly, that might be one of the strongest compliments possible, because the people who trust these guns usually sound calm about it. No cult energy, no constant defending online, just quiet confidence, the kind that comes from years of reliable use. That's a recurring pattern on this list. The louder the internet gets, the quieter serious owners usually become. The M&P earned trust by staying dependable. The next gun earned attention by changing the entire concealed carry market. Number 4. The SIG Sauer P365. This gun changed concealed carry whether people liked it or not, because before the P365 showed up, most tiny carry guns came with an unspoken compromise. You could have concealability or shootability, usually not both. Micro-compacts were often miserable to train with. Low capacity, tiny grips, sharp recoil. Short shooting sessions before people quietly switched back to larger pistols. Then SIG released the P365, and suddenly people were carrying 10, 12, even more rounds in a gun that practically disappeared under a t-shirt. That got everyone's attention, especially experienced carriers, because for the first time a genuinely small pistol started feeling like a serious fighting handgun instead of a backup gun people tolerated. And honestly, the industry had to react. You could feel it almost immediately. Other manufacturers started chasing the formula. Capacity expectations changed overnight. The concealed carry market shifted around this pistol. That's not hype, that's influence. Now here's where the story gets complicated. Early P365s had problems, real ones, striker issues, extraction problems, premature parts wear, and because this was a carry gun, not a competition toy, people took those failures personally. Trust matters differently when the pistol rides against your body every day. A lot of shooters walked away immediately, others waited, and over time, SIG refined the platform. That's the version most people know now. A pistol that built a surprisingly strong long-term reliability reputation despite the rough beginning. You see it constantly from high round count owners, thousands of rounds, daily carry, minimal drama. Some even say they trust it as much as their Glock. That would have sounded ridiculous when the gun first launched. But reputations evolve, and the P365 evolved into something important. A carry gun people actually wanted to keep on them. That's the key. Because the easiest gun to carry is often the one that gets carried consistently. The P365 understands modern life, normal clothes, long commutes, appendix carry fatigue, hot weather. It gives people real capacity without demanding they dress around the gun, and emotionally, that creates reassurance. Not loud reassurance, quiet reassurance. The feeling that you're still armed without carrying a brick on your belt. The P365 modernized concealed carry. The next handgun never cared much about modern trends in the first place. Number 3. The CZP-01. This pistol feels different immediately. Not trendy, not minimalist, not optimized by marketing departments chasing the next concealed carry fad. The P01 feels like a real service pistol compressed down into carry size without losing its seriousness. And that identity matters, because this gun earned its reputation the hard way. Military-style testing, NATO certification, high round count endurance trials, not flashy social media reliability claims, actual institutional testing. The stories around the P01 became part of the mythology fast. 15,000 rounds, minimal stoppages, harsh environmental testing, drop tests, decocking tests, the kind of evaluations designed around professional use instead of consumer excitement. And once people started shooting the gun seriously, the emotional attachment showed up almost immediately. You see it with CZ owners all the time, a kind of quiet loyalty, not loud fanboy behavior, more like people discovering something they feel deserves more respect than it gets. Part of that comes from how the gun shoots. The frame has weight to it, not excessive weight, purposeful weight. The recoil impulse feels smooth, controlled, almost heavy in the best way, and the ergonomics are classic CZ, deep grip contour, natural pointability. The slide riding low inside the frame gives the whole pistol this composed mechanical feel during recoil. It doesn't snap violently, it settles. That creates confidence fast, especially for shooters who train often. Now, the trade-offs are real. This is not the easiest gun to conceal compared to modern micro-compacts. The double-action, single-action system adds complexity too. Some shooters never fully warm up to the transition between the first trigger pull and the rest. And compared to Glock or Smith & Wesson, aftermarket support isn't nearly as universal. But none of those criticisms damage the P01's core reputation, because the people who trust this gun usually trust it deeply. To them, the P01 feels less like a commercial concealed carry product and more like a compact duty pistol that accidentally became one of the best carry guns in the world. That distinction matters emotionally. This gun feels earned, like something designed by engineers who cared more about durability than market trends. And honestly, that old-world seriousness is becoming rarer. The P01 earned loyalty through craftsmanship. The next pistol earned it through sheer endurance. Number 2. The H&K P30. At a certain point, this pistol stopped feeling like a normal reliability discussion because most handguns never get pushed far enough for people to discover their real limits. The P30 did. That's what made it famous. Not marketing, not military mystique, not aesthetics. Round count. Relentless round count. Tens of thousands of rounds through a single gun. The stories around the P30 endurance tests almost sound exaggerated the first time you hear them. 90,000 rounds, minimal stoppages, parts replacements from wear but no catastrophic design failure. And the important part wasn't just the number, it was the tone people used afterward. The gun didn't feel fragile anymore, it felt overbuilt. Like H&K engineered the thing assuming someone would abuse it for a living. That reputation followed the P30 everywhere. Law enforcement use, professional training circles, hard-use shooters who stopped caring about hype years ago. You hear the same kind of language repeatedly. Built like a tank, ridiculously durable. The gun will outlast me. Now, obviously, there's nuance here. Most concealed carriers will never shoot enough to truly justify a P30. That's part of the debate around it. You're paying for engineering margins many owners may never fully use, and compared to newer striker-fired pistols, the P30 can absolutely feel large for concealed carry, especially today. This isn't a tiny modern micro-compact. It's closer to a duty pistol people learn to conceal well. That changes the experience. The gun feels substantial in the hand, solid, dense, deliberate. The recoil impulse has this controlled push to it that makes the pistol feel calmer than a lot of lighter polymer guns. And the ergonomics became one of the platform's defining strengths. Interchangeable side panels, interchangeable back straps, a grip system that felt years ahead of a lot of competitors when it arrived. Then there's the emotional side of the P30. This gun appeals to a very specific personality. People who value durability almost to an irrational degree. People who like overbuilt machinery, mechanical confidence, institutional engineering. The kind of shooters who would rather carry something slightly heavier if it means never second-guessing the platform. And honestly, there's something respectable about that mindset. The P30 never chased trends, it just kept surviving. The P30 became respected through endurance. The next handgun became universal through consistency. Number 1. The Glock 19. And honestly, this was probably inevitable, because eventually almost every serious concealed carry conversation circles back here. Not because the Glock 19 is perfect, it isn't. People complain about the grip angle, the trigger, the ergonomics, the sights, the fact that newer pistols often feel more refined straight out of the box, all fair criticism, and yet the Glock 19 keeps surviving every generation of Glock killer discussions. That's the part that matters. Because this pistol built something much stronger than hype, institutional trust. Police departments trusted it, instructors trusted it, military units trusted variations of the platform. Ordinary concealed carriers trusted it long enough for the gun to become almost boring, in the best possible way. The Glock 19 sits right in the middle of everything, big enough to fight with comfortably, small enough to conceal realistically, light enough for daily carry, simple enough to maintain half awake at a workbench. That balance became its entire identity. Not excellence in one category, dependability across all of them. And over time, people started realizing something important. The Glock 19 rarely gives owners a reason to stop carrying it. That sounds simple. It isn't. A lot of handguns eventually create friction. Too heavy, too snappy, too complicated. Hard to find parts for. Hard to trust after high round counts. The 19 avoided most of that. Magazines everywhere, holsters everywhere, replacement parts everywhere. You can walk into almost any gun store in America and find support for this pistol. That ecosystem became part of the reliability story too, because serious carry guns aren't just machines, they're systems. And the Glock system became nearly impossible to kill. Now here's the interesting part. The Glock 19 doesn't usually inspire romance. People rarely describe it with emotional language. Instead, they say things like, "It just works." And honestly, that sentence explains the entire gun. The recoil impulse feels practical. The controls feel practical. Even the appearance feels practical. Nothing here begs for attention, which is exactly why so many serious shooters eventually trust it. The Glock 19 became the carry gun people bought after they got tired of chasing carry guns, not because it was exciting, because it refused to become a problem. And after enough years, enough classes, enough hard use, that kind of reliability stops feeling like marketing. It starts feeling earned. The guns people trust most usually aren't the ones demanding attention. They're the ones that survived long enough to become familiar, the ones people kept carrying after the excitement wore off. Some of these guns are old, some are heavy, some are honestly imperfect. Doesn't matter. Trust was never built on perfection. It was built on consistency. Serious people trust boring things. Which carry gun earned your trust the hard way and never gave you a reason to stop carrying it?